Welcome to Pittsburgh Sports Line. We're glad to have you watching our show. We have a lot of great sports talk for you and some other conversation, of course. We want to send out our prayers to everybody that's been affected by this huge historical storm, Sandy, and all the survivors. My sister, the biggest fan that's down there, my sister Hope, she just called me. I talked to her for the first time in 2 days. They were a little bit underwater. She just moved there, and somehow she has that type of luck that this storm come out of nowhere, and her house is fine, just a little bit of damage, and she's still alive, and they're keeping hope alive. And now, for any of you new to the show, we do What's on Our Mind, and we're going to start it out with Big Mike Butera. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm glad all's well with your sister.
Thank you.
A couple of things tonight. Big Machine, smoking. Holy Christ, I forget who I am.
We'll do an introduction later.
Okay. I want to give a congratulations to the San Francisco Giants on their World Series title, and of course condolences to the other team. Also, wanted to bring to the attention, it was really astounding to me, that this past World Series was the lowest rated World Series in history.
Wow.
And, yeah, really. And it followed up. The second lowest rated World Series was 2 years ago when San Francisco played the Texas Rangers. And that just boggles my mind, because what constitutes a World Series worthy of a high numbers rating? I've no clue, but that was just an interesting read to me. But what I wanted to go to is, I'm kind of like going to contradict myself, and I think this has been brought to my attention in the past. Toward let's say about 2 or 3, maybe 3-4 weeks left in the season, I was kind of predicting or trying to predict who the MVP of the National League and the American League would be. I think it's a given that Buster Posey will end up with the NL MVP, but my choices for AL was Derek Jeter, because I thought he's having one of the best seasons ever, and the Yankees were poised to go into the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. And I thought his run for the money would be Adrian Beltre and or Josh Hamilton of the Texas Rangers. However, and this is something that I'm going to find out in due time, is can you win an MVP? Can you win an MVP trophy based upon 2 or 3 weeks worth of play, which Miguel Cabrera has propelled himself into maybe the lead, but it was really, he was solid throughout the entire year, but then all of a sudden, the last 2 or 3 weeks, he went from not even in fourth place in my book to number one. Now, conversely speaking, Josh Hamilton, who was a hands-down leader through the All-Star break, he tanked and he lost it in the second half. But I'm just kind of curious as to see if, in fact, Miguel Cabrera will take the MVP based upon a real surge at the end. And that's kind of put a couple of things that are on my mind already. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Big Mike. I appreciate that. Now we'll go to Smoking Jim Frazier. What's on your mind?
Hey, thanks, Talking Machine. Yeah, what's on my mind is last night I raised my record to 8-4, real easy, 8-4-1, real easy victory with the San Francisco 49ers, best team in all of football, best coach in all of football, Jim Harbaugh. And I'll give everybody a bonus pick, New York Giants over the Pittsburgh Steelers. But everybody notice I'm wearing the Duquesne Dukes hat. Duquesne University does play Division I basketball. Very proud of Duquesne because it's the start of the NBA season tonight. And the first black player ever to play in the NBA is a Duquesne University graduate, Chuck Cooper. And Duquesne has a Chuck Cooper Classic for the last 4 years. And to honor him as being the first black player in NBA history. And lastly, a lot of people may not know, but every year I get 4 to 7 football players in Western Pennsylvania, football scholarships to college players that have talent but don't have any scholarship offers. And takes me back to 8 to 10 years ago. There was a outstanding quarterback for Perry High School in the city. His name was Desmond Brentley, was 6'3", 220 pounds, had a gun for an arm, but no scholarship offers. So I called my very good friend who was the defensive coordinator at the time for Grambling University. A lot of you guys may have heard of him, Dennis Dirt Winston, former Pittsburgh Steelers middle linebacker that played behind Jack Lambert. And he gave him a scholarship on the spot. And when we went down to meet with Dirt, he said something that Eddie Robinson used to tell me all the time, the legendary coach with over 400 victories. And Eddie Robinson used to tell his young quarterbacks, and Dirt told Desmond Brentley the same thing, that if your goal is to play in the National Football League and play quarterback, you must get your degree. That way there's nobody in the National Football League that will tell you that you're too dumb to play quarterback in the National Football League. And that just leads me to say this: the greatest middle linebacker on the high school level I've ever seen was Dan Mason out of Penn Hills that plays for University of Pittsburgh. He was a freshman sensation, tore up his knee, his leg. The doctors feared he'd never play football again. He was out for 2 years. He came back recently, was all over the field against Temple, had about 11 tackles, and ended up ending the season with a lacerated liver. And then the greatest running back in the last 3 years of college football is Marcus Lattimore from South Carolina. Tore up his knee last year. If anybody's seen the injury that he had to his leg, I tell you what, man, it's not for women and children to watch. So I want to encourage all those guys out there, please, if you're playing college football, get your degree, have a plan B, because the NFL is no guarantee.
Wow.
Smoking Jim, very
poet also.
well spoken.
Yeah, man.
A little bit of rhyme in there. Now we got to go to Chip Hayner. What's on your mind?
What's on my mind? Well, first off, I'd like to tip my hat to an event that happened back in 1974. The Rumble in the Jungle happened on October 30th, 1974. Muhammad Ali took back his World Heavyweight Championship against the unbeatable George Foreman in Zaire. Muhammad Ali displayed the rope-a-dope tactics that fight. He let George Foreman punch himself out, and then George Foreman was just going through everybody like a hot knife through butter. And Ali let him punch himself out and knocked him out in the 8th round. So, tip my hat to the greatest. Just to acknowledge that event that happened. How many years ago? Almost 39 years ago.
Wow.
38, 39 years ago. Another thing I'd like to touch on, and my esteemed colleague over here, Big Mike, was talking about the American League MVP, and Miguel Cabrera. He won the Triple Crown. That hasn't been done since 1967, and I mean I think that's pretty much locked it up for him. But I think the person that came in second for the American League MVP is a rookie, and a rookie sensation, Mike Trout from the Los Angeles Angels. He was a pretty amazing athlete to watch play this year. If you get a chance, take a look at some of the highlight films of him. But, to speak to another point of, Mr. Butera, he mentioned about the television ratings with the World Series, and it was the lowest rated World Series on record. And, baseball has always been America's pastime. It's, I know football has eclipsed it in popularity. The NFL marketing machine has done just such a great job of getting it everywhere, and everybody, it's, speaking for itself. But, I think one of the problems that Major League Baseball has, and this is funny because I go to a lot of baseball games during the course of the summer, and, I can get on to PNC Park at any given time, and I can sit through a lot of games that are 2 hours, 2.5 hours long, But when you get into the playoffs, and I don't understand why they do this, I haven't seen a game that was less than 4 hours long. I mean, it almost seems like the networks have to run a commercial after every pitch, and then the batter has to get out and he has to adjust his jock and he has to, take the straps off his hands. And I think what they ought to do is they ought to, take steps to speed up the game, and if they did that, and if the game was 2.5 hours long, people's interest would be in it. There'd be more excitement. The fact is, it's almost like watching golf on TV. I'm a baseball fan and I love baseball, but I think Major League Baseball should do something to increase, the public's interest in the game, and I think speeding up the game would do something about that. But that's what's on my mind.
That's a great point.
Almost like watching
Chip, on that
golf
point,
TV.
what do you think about changing some of the tradition? Like if you're going to do an intentional walk, why throw the ball? Change a couple things. Think outside the box. What
Hey, if you
breaks?
got to adjust your jock, you got to adjust your jock.
Yeah, I didn't say the jock. I mean, come on now.
I mean, you know,
It's actually a cup.
but
I think they have cup trouble there.
But
is
you know,
what the problem
my
is.
point being is these guys sit there and they fidget, they fidget, and they fidget, and they you know, it's like stand in the batter's box. You know, the pitcher, you know, let him pitch. Okay, take your swings. Either you hit the ball out of the park or you know do something. But I mean, it's too slow. And then you know
We got to make you the commissioner. That's all. Let's get you to be the next Bowie Kuhn there.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on a little bit. Is Al Levine the talking machine? You know, I got to do a few infomercials, and I'm going to have to put Matt to task here. If you can get a close up here, we're juggling cameras, so I'm going to make Matt work a little bit. Officer Drew with the Bethel Park Police was kind enough to give me the flyer here. There's going to be a special movie screening with Heroes Behind the Badge. I don't know if you can get that.
Oh, yeah, we can see that.
If my guys can see it, I know you're seeing it out in TV land. Thanks, Matt. Well, anyhow, this is a movie, a documentary film featuring some of the brave men and women of law enforcement who put their lives on the line and survived, and those who made the ultimate sacrifice. This is going to be a special event, November 17th. And it only costs $15. It'll be at Bethel Park High School Auditorium. And it'll also feature a question and answer period with the producer of the film. Now, half of the proceeds will go to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund, which is in Washington, D.C. And I just found out about that. You can also go online and you can find out www.policebagpipes.com. They're going to perform, and they're also going to be selling T-shirts and other stuff to help donate towards the cause here. And you can go and watch the movie trailer on www.heroesbehindthebadge.com. And we appreciate you supporting this great organization and the fallen officers here and their families. Some of the families and officers will also be at the auditorium that day, and it's at the new Bethel Park High School Auditorium, November 17th, 7 p.m.
Good stuff, Al.
So just wanted to get that out there, and then I have a lot what's on my mind. I look at different sports and everything else, but I come across a little bit of trivia and a tidbit that I thought was interesting. Rory McIlroy is going to switch from Titleist to Nike. Now, who's been his friend the last 5-6 months? Smoking Jim's best buddy, Tiger Woods. Wow. Now, here's the odd thing. Tiger took between 5 and 7 years to go to the new equipment with Nike because of his contracts. Rory's only going to have 2 months to go from the Titleist clubs and balls to Nike.
Wow.
And it makes you wonder, if you believe in conspiracies, why would you do that to a young man at the top of his game? So it's just one of those things to give you a little...
Hey,
What's going on
there,
there, right?
Fair and square by hook or crook.
And another tidbit, David Duval was with Titleist, and when Tiger was buddying up with him and they were playing, guess who signed with Nike within 6 months of them becoming friends?
Wow.
So a little fiction and fact from the Talking Machines Almanac. And one thing I did want to start off, we talked about a lot of things at Level 20 last night, so I do want to thank Colin and Tracy for letting us have a great time at the show. $7 burger and fries.
Oh, man.
I saw a couple people after the show order them. Devin and Aaron enjoyed them greatly. So, you know, I didn't get one. I was eating Smoking Jim's fries.
But he killed the fries.
Oh, and a shout out to Chief. Before I got to eat Smoking Jim's fries, Chief said, "Hey Al, before Smoking Jim comes in, do you want some of my fries?" I tried a half a dozen. Thanks, Chief. But anyhow, I wanted to show you guys a book,
Wow.
Steeler book from about 1973. And my cousin, who was manager of Ralph's Discount, Elliot Sheridan, was good friends with the Steelers.
Before you go further, there's something that most people never ever notice. What do you guys notice on that picture that was a trademark of Terry Bradshaw's until probably 74, 75?
The mask?
Huh?
His mask?
Close, but no cigar.
Ah, jeez.
Well, I can't see it from down here.
You can see
Here,
plenty.
we'll put it on TV and then you can see.
When he kept his dentures in?
Close, but no cigar.
He had no mouth guard.
Check. Close, but no cigar. From 73
His
back.
mustache.
Well, from 73 back to 70, you know, Terry Bradshaw was known as the dumbest quarterback ever to play. He was known as a dummy, but he was a tough guy. And
Right.
Terry Bradshaw, up through 1973, never, ever wore a chin strap. He played football without a chin strap. That's a fact. Check out any film
Do you
of Terry
think that
Bradshaw.
affected him a little bit?
He was just a tough dude,
Did
man.
look where he is
He was
today.
just tough.
It's on a real sports
Well, here,
show.
look, everybody says that he can't spell cat. Look at the name that he put in there.
That's Terry Bradshaw's handwriting. That's Terry
Yeah,
Bradshaw.
and then here, I'm going to let Smoke and Jim read a
Andy
couple of the
Russell.
other names.
he wasn't left-handed. JoJo Starbuck signed that.
No, she wasn't there.
Lynn Swan.
And then look what Andy Russell wrote to
Ron
me.
Shanklin.
To L, best regards. Andy Russell did that.
Yeah,
You got Ron Shanklin.
because that was my cousin's best friend.
Do you know where Ron Shanklin played college football at? What year did Ron Shanklin come here?
Was it like 72?
1970.
Okay,
Who did he play college ball with?
I'm not sure.
Joe Green.
Wow.
Same college. 1 year apart.
Well, I wanted to share that with you, and if you look where I have it bookmarked,
The
you
late
can-
Ron Shanklin. He passed
Yeah.
away.
No, don't pull that out.
That's
You
what's
can
in the
see.
bookmark.
No, I said if you look where the bookmark
That's
is and
what
flip
I was.
flip it to it. Okay. There's Art Rooney.
Oh.
He's a young man there. Look at him
Wow.
all dressed up, a dapper young man there.
He looked like you when you came to the show that one time in your suit.
Yeah, last week.
Pinstripe.
Thanks, Smoking Jim. But I just wanted to add a little book to the show. here,
Handsome
so.
guy.
So now that we brought up the Steelers, well,
Yeah,
you know,
let's segue into it.
Yeah, Sunday the Steelers played probably the best game they've played all year.
I'm sorry, he didn't show us
against
Bubby Bristol's autograph right here.
against the
Oh, it fell
Washington
out.
Redskins. The Steelers seem to have found their running game, and Ben Roethlisberger was flawless at directing the offense. The first 4 times the Steelers had the ball, they ate the clock up and scored. And by the time they got to halftime, it was a 20-6 lead, pretty much negating Washington's run game because now they're behind the 8 ball, and the Steelers defense stepped up. A lot of people commented today, over the last couple of days about how the Redskins dropped so many passes, but how many of those passes that they dropped were caused by the defensive backs and the way that they were playing them? I mean, sure they did drop a few of them, but there was a few of those balls that were knocked loose, and the Steelers secondary played very well, and they really need to because they're going to be playing against a set of wide receivers this weekend that is probably, I would say, ranks as the best or one of the best group of receivers in the NFL right now. Hakeem Nicks, Victor Cruz, Hickson. I mean, they just got a laundry list of guys that can any one of them can take the ball deep on them, and it'll be interesting to see how the Steelers secondary does, because one of the things that the Giants do very, very well is they protect Eli Manning. He's only been sacked 6 times this year. He's had 294 pass attempts, and he's only been sacked 6 times. So, they do a heck of a job of protecting him, which gives his receivers time to get open. I think the 2 most critical parts of the game are going to be what the Steelers secondary does against the Giants wide receivers core, and how well the Steelers can control the clock by running the ball. The last 2 games the Steelers played, against Cincinnati, we rushed for 170 some yards. Against the Redskins, we rushed for 140. If we can continue to do that, we may have a chance to give the Giants a game. I mean, the Giants, they're 6-2. They're the defending champs. They kind of look somewhat unbeatable. But if you watch them play the Cowboys the other day, they went up 23-0 on them, and then all of a sudden they fell asleep. And the Cowboys, as terrible as they are with a ironclad leader like Tony Romo, they came back and they put up 24 unanswered points and went ahead by 1 before Eli, once again pulled the game out at the end.
Your sarcasm's appreciated. I
Well,
respect that.
I have no respect for the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, most of us Pittsburgh fans do not.
My
Chip, so you
2
have a-
favorite football teams are the Pittsburgh Steelers and whoever's playing the Cowboys. So, that's the way I roll. I've disliked the Cowboys ever since I was a wee lad.
And you're also wearing a Steeler shirt, so
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
understandable. There's no Kool-Aid tonight, so you must have had it already.
Yep.
And the Dallas Cowboys used to be America's team until Bill Cowher turned the Steelers into Steeler Nation. Thanks, Coach Cowher.
You Chip, you mentioned Eli's. How many sacks has he? How many
Six.
How many sacks has Roethlisberger taken this year?
Roethlisberger has taken very few, and I
That's
think
right.
it's in single digits as well.
If you read that, well, I can't give away the thing, but
What is there, a newspaper in Pittsburgh? It's the biggest one around.
I didn't say anything. But I will tell you
I
this.
used to work there.
Yes, you did. I will say this. How many years has Roethlisberger been in the league? 7, 8,
They're
9?
tied.
This is his eighth.
Eighth year. This is his
They were
first.
brought in the same time.
Who was?
Eli and
A little
Ben.
tidbit for you.
And who was that third? Rivers?
Was this
something-
Ben's ninth
some-
year? This
ninth
is Ben's ninth year.
Yeah,
This is
ninth.
his first trifecta game in his career. 300 yards, 3 TDs, 0 sacks on Sunday.
Really?
Yeah, and I think
Wow.
if I read that article correctly, because I didn't make it up, is that he's only, I think he's been sacked the same amount of times or fewer than Eli Manning.
And I tell you what, there was a lot of criticisms of whoever hired Todd Haley, okay, whether it was Mike Tomlin or somebody else, but everybody criticized Todd Haley coming in and his as the offensive coordinator. But it seems like he and Ben have gelled, and the offense that Todd Haley has installed, that Ben is running, has protected Ben, and he is not getting banged up like he was. And I think that if the Steelers are going to have any chance to do anything this year, a healthy Ben Roethlisberger in the second half of the season is key to that. And, it's really kind of nice going into the 8th game of the season, seeing Ben not limping in and out of the huddle. And I think that's really, the offense, I'm kind of liking it. They're controlling the ball. The first drive they had, 7.5 minutes. They took the ball down and, scored a touchdown. I mean, that's the recipe for winning in the NFL. Keep the other team's offense off the field, and nobody laid a glove on Ben.
The limp could come this week.
Well, part of the difference, if you notice the game, and I'm just repeating what people see, they always wanted Heath to get the ball. So when Todd Haley come here, he did a smart thing. We got to get to Heath, throw the ball, and he needs somebody for the bubble screen. So he's spreading it around for the bubble screen because it's alive and well. We still have the dink and dunk, which helps. They're getting Big Ben to do a no-huddle offense, which that's why he's getting along with Haley so well. He's calling his own plays when they're doing the no-huddle. So when you think about it, he's able to run a little bit free and do his own thing there. And it's the same basic plan that they had last year with Arians on what he's doing, only now he's throwing the ball faster because they have these guys on the bubble screen. They have a running game right now. And you have offensive linemen that, I've coined this, they love to block and tackle. So they're able to hold him off a little bit, and Ben's still able to get away at 6'5", 270.
Well, Haley's able to be more creative this year because his mind is into the game. It was Watergate at Kansas City last year. Remember, he thought the bathroom was being bugged.
Right.
He thought that the general manager was setting him up and videotaping everything. So his mind's a little bit more free. He's closer to his home in Upper St. Clair, where he never played football, and he's
How was his
familiar
golf
with all
game?
the golf courses around here. And Ben's a scratch golfer in himself, so
Right.
I'm sure they get along.
Well, he knows that the stadium over on Southside's locked down. It's secure. The Roonies have that secure.
It's
Look at
also-
how you get checked all the time.
It's also kind of funny that the general manager that he was so worried about last year that fired him is now on the chopping block himself. The 1-7 Kansas City Chiefs. I was watching, flipping in and out of the game on Sunday because that was,
get bored.
nothing else to do. But, Brady Quinn, they had to go to Brady Quinn as their starting quarterback, so that just about sums up what you could expect out of their offense. And I'm watching this kid, and every time he's got the ball, he starts running, he's diving forward instead of sliding like they tell quarterbacks to do. Well, all of it was about maybe 5 minutes into the game, and he got dinged and he got a concussion. And they brought back in Matt Castle. So, the announcers started asking, well, who's the third string quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs? There wasn't one.
Wow.
It would have have to be, if something would have happened to Matt Castle, they would have had to have been Dexter McCluster.
Wow.
Would that have been, so here, the general manager is equipped Romeo Cannell without enough soldiers to go into battle. So, I think the general manager and Romeo Cannell are going to ultimately end up getting canned. But just to speak to another point, comment that Jim made. He's talking about Ben could be walking with a limp after the Sunday's game, and that's a really, really good point, because I got to tell you something. The New York Giants, I think, probably have the best defensive line, 4 down linemen in the NFL, bar none. Last year, their defensive line, look what they did to Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs, and they took them on to the Super Bowl. And they can get enough pressure out of those 4 that they can drop their linebackers back in coverage. And, the Steelers' offensive line, okay, they played 2 decent games in a row, but they're going to go up against the big boys on Sunday afternoon. And, we'll see if they're going to be up to the task, because, they're going to come at them, and they're going to come at them from every direction. And, they're going to have to stand their ground and protect their quarterback.
And now, who called the Giants to win the Super Bowl last year?
The Prophet Hayner. Early. But wait a second here. Conklin's not in trouble yet. So I predict a Steeler win. Conklin has to get in trouble, and then they go on to win the Super Bowl. It's not happening yet. They're doing too well here. They're playing a good game. Everybody thought we'd lose last week. I had to predict that the Steelers would win. I'll go on the record. They beat the Giants. I don't know what field they're going to play on, because isn't New York City blacked out?
No, it's not blacked out. I mean, I believe MetLife Stadium.
Did you see the transformer burst?
MetLife Stadium was underwater this morning.
Wow.
Holy smokes.
Wow.
So they're going to have to pump a few guys.
So I think the Steeler running game will be successful there, because we have some mutters there.
Well, you know what Coughlin calls Coach Tomlin?
No.
Mikey. He's not going to lose to Mikey.
Well, I'm on the record. He'll beat him.
Is this the prediction part of the show? Because
No.
I have one. I have one.
I just said no.
I don't pay attention.
Okay. Do you want to have a prediction?
I'm going to direct this to my man to my right.
Who is he?
Well, the big guy.
What's his name?
Where are you smoking, Jim?
Okay, thanks.
Machine, the profiteer, the prognosticator, and the predictor. Where are you going to be Friday night, November 23rd?
I'll be at Heinz Field from 8 o'clock in the morning till 1 o'clock in the morning.
Do you know where I'm going to be?
No.
We're going to be sitting side by side because Gateway's playing Central that night in the semifinals.
Well, no, the 23rd, November 23rd is the finals. November 23rd.
That's what I said, didn't I?
And this segues into Aaron, we got a special edition of the show.
Special edition of the show, and I'm
What a
going to
segue.
put I'm going to put my football expert on the spot here. All I've got here is the WPIAL playoff matchups. Okay, and what I'd like to do with my friend Jim here is I'd like to go through the first round of games, and let's just pick some games and see how we do. We got North Allegheny playing Altoona.
I'm going on a limb and say North Allegheny.
Okay, North Allegheny. McKeesport against Bethel Park.
Woo! That's going to be a good game. You got to go.
We're in Bethel Park.
Bethel Park.
No, McKeesport. Bethel got a freshman quarterback that's going to be great, but McKeesport got a Division I quarterback.
Okay, Seneca Valley against Hempfield.
Seneca Valley's loaded this year.
And Seneca Valley, whose only loss this year was to North Allegheny.
Wow.
Then we have Mount Lebanon and Butler.
Mount Lebanon.
Okay, Mount Lebo. All right, then over on the other side of the bracket,
Gateway!
I can go ahead and pencil them in.
You should have had it done already.
I got an ink pen. We'll get Gateway. Okay, now if Gateway, the Woodland Hills and North Hills are the next game.
Woodland Hills.
Woody Hills. Okay, now after that, Upper St. Clair and Kiski.
Upper St. Clair.
Okay. And then Central Catholic and Penn Trafford.
Central Catholic. I hate Central Catholic.
Big Mike.
Okay, now that takes care of our quad A.
You said you didn't like him. You didn't say if they're going to win.
But if you look at this, I mean, Gateway's going to really have to earn its way to the championship game because they're going to. You look at who they would have to face in the second and third round, and North Allegheny, which has beaten Gateway, and Seneca Valley. USC did lose to the Bethel Park. So I mean that's a pretty stacked quad A.
Yes, it is.
Bracket here. But okay, we go to the AAA. We get Thomas Jefferson and Holidays. Now how does a team with a 3-6 record make it to the playoffs? Okay,
it's like the
a holiday. It's a holiday.
That's why Thomas Jefferson should be playing in quad A.
Yeah.
Okay, Franklin Regional against Elizabeth Forward.
Ooh, I'll say Franklin Regional there.
Franklin Regional. Now, this next bracket here sets up an interesting rematch here. We've got West Allegheny against Ringgold.
West Allegheny.
And Montour against Trinity.
Montour.
Right. So
He
Montour.
doesn't hesitate, folks. Smoking Jim knows.
Montour beat West Allegheny.
West Allegheny
beat Montour 5-3 2 weeks ago. So that'll be an interesting. Mars against Blackhawk. And there's another 3-6 team.
I
in
got
the
Blackhawk. Believe it
Blackhawk.
or not. No, I'm sorry, Mars.
Mars?
Yeah, Mars.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
they're number 2. They're ranked number 2.
Yeah,
West Mifflin and Knock.
West Mifflin loaded this year.
Central Valley and Bell Vernon.
Central Valley, what a disappointment last couple of games, though.
And Hampton and Hopewell.
Hampton.
Okay. And we're gonna. What we'll do next week is we'll see how we did.
All right.
Put
Okay.
that up on the air.
Okay.
Let's see
No,
if-
wait. We're not done.
okay.
We're not done yet. We got okay. Now we go to the class.
We'll get
Class
Matt
A.
working on that.
Number 1 seed Aliquippa against Stillfield.
Aliquippa.
Okay, the Quips and Burrell against Mount Pleasant.
That's going to be a good one. I'll go with Burrell there.
Burrell.
Lower Burrell.
Lower.
Jeanette and South Allegheny.
Jeanette, they got a black coach.
And he's partial to women, too. Smoking Jim likes the
Beaver
women.
and Valley.
Beaver.
Okay. Then we got South Fayette and Freedom.
Ooh, South Fayette with the passing game.
You know, you got 3 teams that are 9-0 in the in Double A.
Really?
Yeah.
No
'cause
wonder Claret will move up.
Washington's also 9-0.
Yeah.
Freeport and Beaver Falls. 2-7-2
Falls.
teams.
Beaver Falls.
Okay, we got Washington and Shadyside Academy.
Washington, they got the best running back since Brian Davis running down
And Seton LaSalle and Greensburg Central Catholic.
there. I love Seton LaSalle passing attack.
Wow. The Rebels.
Okay, now we'll go down to single A. We got the number 1 ranked Clareton Bears against Frazier.
Bears. Bears
How'd
always
you pick
picking on
against
Frazier.
Frazier?
They're
That's
always
your
picking on
family.
Frazier. Claret
Down
always
goes
picking on
Frazier. Down goes Frazier.
Springdale and Brentwood.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Hard to pick against Brentwood, man.
Okay,
Hard to
well-
pick against Brentwood.
And he won't, folks.
Jefferson Morgan and Neshannock. Neshannock's 8-1. Jefferson Morgan 7-2.
Neshannock.
Neshannock. And we've got Monessen.
Monessen.
And those are the Greyhounds. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Those
As
are
long
the
as they play, they had about 7 players that was in jail the 1 week when they lost.
Is that all?
Yeah.
They're out.
Okay, the number 2 ranked team is Stowe Rocks against Carmichael's.
Stowe Rocks is loaded this year, man. Stowe Rocks is loaded. All of them are academically eligible this year.
What, they had to go to 1 class?
Remember last year they moved 2
They only
years
went
ago.
to
30
1
of
class
them.
this year. That's it.
That's Center and Union.
My best friend is coaching Beth Center, so I'll go with Beth Center as
Okay.
head coach.
Give a shot.
Okay,
What's his name?
Sure will.
What's your coach's
Rochester
Eddie
and
Woods,
Avonworth.
Coach Eddie Woods.
Eddie Woods.
Rochester and Avonworth.
Fastest white guy I ever knew. Who is it?
Rochester.
Gotta go with
Rochester.
Rochester.
And North Catholic and Bishop Canavan.
Boy, it's hard to go against North Catholic, but Bishop Canavan is the team.
Okay. And we'll check back with us next week, and we'll
right.
see how we do on this.
Since we do this on YouTube, let's at least get a little publicity here for the picks. Matt, I don't know if you can pull that up since this was the Chip Hayner special.
Y'all picking on his writing? Chick wrote that quick. Chip wrote that
I
quick.
know.
No,
I
I'm
don't know.
picking on
Can
his
you get a
writing.
close up there? Bring it out. Just scan down if you can, or
We'll see how we do next week.
That'd be good, man.
thank you.
Yeah, we can follow the high school players because the Whitfields are big here. High school
Right,
football,
and that's why I wanted it out there. They'll see it
high
on
school football is
YouTube.
bigger than basketball here in Western PA.
Right. And if you don't catch us in the local area on all the public access channels, either 32 with Fios or 7 with Comcast, watch it on YouTube, folks.
Well, how in the world, can you guys answer me this? Why is Quad A, which you're predicting Central Catholic will make it, why is Quad A playing at 2 o'clock for the championship game instead of at night? There's no hockey. I think they moved it because there was supposed to have been hockey that
Right.
night. But the hockey season's been canceled.
They didn't
through
get the
November,
email.
right?
Smoke and
I
Jim, they didn't
used to, now, correct me if I'm wrong, because you go down there and you're at Heinz Field all the time. I used to think that it was the A, double A, triple A, quad A.
Yeah, but sometimes Root Sports will, because the Quad A is the main attraction,
Sure.
and they have a contract with the hockey, so they'll move and put the double A game at the night game and have A,
So there's
Quad
no
A,
conflict.
then triple A, so that everybody can watch the Quad A game. But wasn't it at night since the hockey has been canceled?
Well, with all the power you have with these high school sports, why don't you make a little thing going? Write a column.
Well, I
you
like
know, wherever
it.
you write a
I
column.
like it at 2 o'clock. I can start celebrating with Gateway all the way from 2.
Well, I'll tell you what, whoever does win the quad A,
They earn it.
I'm gonna go ahead out on the limb and say whoever does win the quad A, I say is gonna win state. Because I mean, it is just absolutely loaded. You look at the teams that are in there. You got Upper St. Clair, you got Gateway, you've got North Allegheny, you got Seneca Valley. I mean, any one of those teams, if they make it through there, I think would be capable of taking state.
Okay, you mentioned all that now, and he had a question, so I feel qualified to ask a question. How did these 2, 3, and 6 teams get into a playoffs? 3 and 6.
The
Did
other
you say-
teams had worse records, so they couldn't put them in there.
Yeah, well, I guess just
You
by
have to at
attrition.
least win a couple games. It's like the NHL. Everybody misses the NHL.
I mean, Jim's the expert on high school
Right.
football, but I mean, I guess they just don't have enough teams in those divisions. You know, that so many teams they got to round it out to fill out the bracket. You know,
Big Mike, that was an excellent question, just so you know.
and I don't have an answer for it.
Right, we really don't know.
If you want me to make one up,
I did. But we'll look into it, and we'll get back to you.
No, that's
I'll
just,
email you.
I appreciate that. It's just
I'll
kind
text you.
Done. Okay, that's there was 2, not 1, but 2, right? And
Yeah.
2,
Yes.
3, and 6 teams.
Holidaysburg.
I mean, geez, oh man, who did Hollidaysburg?
Well, you know what? If
Play
somebody
against-
out there,
That's it. There you go.
412-831-3304.
Call
if
it
you could-
now.
If you could call now, put Mike at ease.
Ask for me.
Because on his ride home, he has a long ride home, folks.
Don't I ever?
Well, on Thursday, I'll just go to the Holidaysburg's pep rally and ask the question to the coach.
Maybe don't
Well,
ask
you know
him
what?
that.
And also, my friend Smoke and Jim will be at the City League Championship this Saturday. Perry will be taking on UPrep, and Smoke and Jim will be calling the game. So,
Really? Sweet.
Yes,
you know,
sir.
Couple Stadium. What time is that? 1 or 2?
1 o'clock. 1 o'clock.
Any free
o'clock.
tickets at the press box for us to
Hey.
come on down?
It's always free for BPTV.
Ah,
Always
nice.
free.
This guy knows his stuff. I'm telling you.
He is a true poet there.
That's the good. Hey, Al, since there was some dead air there, are you going to do your segment on the Penguins tonight or the
Yes,
NHL
I
yet?
was going to try to bring that up.
Because I'll tell you what.
We had a little discussion last night. I'll try to give you the flavor of it, but not the whole thing.
Here's something interesting. Another question, because this is the question end right down at this table. Okay, Malkin and whomever big time players from the NHL and the Penguins in particular that are playing on other teams. I want to know how they're doing it because and I know we talked about contracts in the past, but an interesting stat today from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette was that Crosby would like to play in something or other, even a charitable game, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but he can't because I guess it's health care or not health care, but his insurance would cost $400,000
Think about
a
why.
month.
Think about why.
But is Malkin any less?
Yes.
Well, yes, and the reason being is that Sid Crosby spent a year off with a brain injury, then followed that with a neck injury, okay? And he just recently signed a $100 million contract with the Penguins, okay? So he's locked up for them, and he has to insure their investment, okay? And that money has to come out of his pocket. And, you know, $400,000 a month, you do the math on that. He plays 6 months. That's that's more money than most
2.4
people.
million,
That's
if
more
you need
money
a number.
than people are going to pay him to come and play for them for a short period of time
2.4.
because you're not going to tie up that much money in him because you only have him for a short period of time. So whatever money that he could possibly get from playing, he's a young kid and he wants to play. How long is it going to take him to,
He
Why
can't get a
did-
better deal with Lloyd's in London?
That costs a lot of money there too, because he's a little like an eggshell,
Yeah,
a
he's-
little fragile. That's the difference. And they did make an agreement. The NHL and whatever the Russian league's called, they have agreements that you can play for them and sign a contract with them, but when the NHL season starts up, your contract is then voided, and you come back. So we've talked about that.
Yeah,
but health-wise, you cannot let a Sidney Crosby go there. His career could be over on the first drop of the puck.
Somebody hits and bangs his head off on the boards. He hits his head on the ice.
You don't think the Russian army's there that, hey, son, your family has a nice house here and you have food to eat?
Not the Russian army.
If you just run into him for like 2 seconds, your family will be taken care of at least for the next couple weeks.
Well, then to make me look less
no, but those are great questions.
Nah, that was a stupid question because he answered it right on the spot. I wasn't looking at the big picture, but now the small picture for me. How much would be can you guys conjure up what the average amount of insurance it would cost to take the players that are comparable to Crosby's significance that haven't had the injuries that he's had? I mean,
but you also have to take a look at the length of the contract that he just signed and the value of it. Malkin's not right now signed from. He's only signed for another year or two or something like that. He hasn't just recently signed a long-term. I mean, Sid Crosby signed a 10-year contract. He's the Pittsburgh Penguins' property for the next 10 years. They're giving him $100 million to do that. So that's a very long investment that they have to protect. Malkin, is probably going to be a free agent. If I don't think after this season, after maybe next. So I mean, you don't have as much that needs to be insured.
Well, Edmund Nelson's an insurance salesman. Maybe he can peddle some insurance to the hockey players. Who said there's no black in hockey?
We just mentioned some of that last night. Since we're talking hockey here, again, like I had mentioned numerous times with the lockout, you do have a lockout. You did have offers 50-50 from the owners. There's many disputes on it. Basically, you got two sides that are polarized, as you've heard me say. Nobody's blinking in this one. You got average players that are losing $5-6 million, and they're all in that they're going to hold out. If they lock them out, they're not crossing any line. Sure, you have minor leaguers. We had a few questions and a little controversy last night. Watch our level 20. If you want to see some exciting conversation. And that's what we bring here, just to give you a little side note. We may be friends up here, but we're all opinionated. And in sports in Pittsburgh, if you're not opinionated, I don't respect you. And if you agree with me 100% of the time, I may not like you, Smoking Jim, and I know you don't. So, I mean, that's part of it. These are our opinions, then the facts are quite different than what our opinions are. And that's a disclaimer to that.
And to speak about the hockey situations they've got going on. The owners have locked out the players. The players say they want to play, okay? But, Donald Fair, who is the guy that's masterminding the players' stand here, he keeps on calling the owners and saying, well, I'd like to sit down and talk with you. And the owners basically say to him, well, are you going to accept our proposal? And he says no, and that ends the conversation. And I think, Fair's position is, I think he wants to do away with the salary cap. And the salary cap is what saved hockey. Back in 2004, when they had the last time they sat out a season, hockey was broke. Most of the teams were hemorrhaging money. The Pittsburgh Penguins were on the verge of bankruptcy. Okay, the salary cap helped to save the league, and it's working for them. I like the way they've got the salary cap in the NFL, because what that does is it's got more interest across a wider range of teams. You look at the way baseball's got things done. There's a handful of teams that are going to play for every year they're going to vie for the championship. But you don't have a level playing field. There's one team that can spend $220 million on their payroll, and other teams. You look at the who was it? The Oakland A's. They had the lowest payroll in baseball this year, $54 million. They made the playoffs. I think the baseball system's broken, and I think what Donald Fair wants to do is make hockey the same way it was before. The salary cap kind of levels the playing field and generates more interest. And I think.
But hold it, Donald Fair has already agreed with the players negotiating to go down to 50-50 with the caveat that they keep the wages the same as what they were before. It only adds maybe 2%. So maybe it's 52-48. That really isn't bad when you had 57-43. And as far as fair, they always need a scapegoat in these negotiations. Where was he in 2004 and 2005 when there was a strike then? He wasn't there. So this is part of what the game is. It's like when you're in business. People out there, and I'm not trying to offend any businessmen, if you have an advantage over somebody and you can do something and you don't want to be fair, you're going to take your shot. The owners figured they could take their shot because hockey's popular. Guess what? It didn't work out.
Well,
And the players, you know, they may be idiots because they're going to lose the wages, but you know what? They're all staying together as a man there.
at the end of the day, the owners have deeper pockets than the players do. And they will outlast the players because the players, they need to play hockey to get paid. Okay? And that is the only game in town. And ultimately, they're going to have to give in. So
I'll still bet against that. There's nobody giving in.
What are you guys' prediction on that will be as far as?
I don't think there'll be a season this year.
Wow.
The owners don't want a season.
Wow.
Thursday, they're going to cancel the
To
Winter
break the
Classic.
union.
And I say by about the middle of November, you know, maybe Thanksgiving, they're gonna call it quits on the whole season. And you know, I think the owners have dug their heels in, and they want things the way they want them, and they're not going to accept anything else. And I think that's where it's going to end up. I don't think there will be a hockey season this year.
What do you think, Al?
Well, there is a chance that they'll have a hockey season. It's called when the light bulb lights up with the owners and they say, okay, we lost $100 million that we said we lost. We also crippled other businesses and affected the communities. We've antagonized hockey fans, players, and everybody else. Okay, maybe we could compromise and save a little face and do a 40-game season or a 42-game season and try to be like the NBA, like I said, who I don't mind negotiating with somebody that hates me or doesn't want to deal with me. And this is part of negotiations. Anybody that's negotiated, go buy a book on negotiating. This is negotiating 101. That's what's so ludicrous, and the media is playing this up because there's nothing going on.
But the owners aren't negotiating. They've
Here's what they are.
They've given an ultimatum, and that's it.
That is negotiating. They put the change from 57-43 to 50-50, and they want all these other restrictions out there. So when you have all the other restrictions, you can negotiate that. They don't want to because they want to see how low they can get the 50-50. They're trying to get to that. Their goal is not 50-50. Nobody, you ever buy a car? Who here has bought a car? Anybody out there? You buy a car? If it's a list price, is that the price you're going to pay? This is what the owners did to them. I'm breaking it down. This is CAT for anybody that doesn't know negotiations. You're not paying that first price. There's only one or two people in my life that I ever saw pay for a car, the list price, and a price on a house. I don't know if you guys have done it because then I'll add you to my list. Okay, you're number 3.
Okay.
But that's part of this, and I just disagree with you, Chip, on why and how they do it, only because I've seen this before in numerous things, and a lot of people don't live that.
We can agree to disagree.
And
I mean,
I
we all
do
have our
agree to
points.
disagree because I respect a lot of what you say, but this is all gamesmanship, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and that's what bothers me. They're crippling small business and restaurants in every city across the country. And to me, that's who's affecting it. And like we've said before, don't go watch the games anymore and then watch what'll happen. But you know that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen. The minute
So
they
we
bring
can
hockey
dream
back,
too.
people will come flocking to those arenas, and they're going to want to see Sid Crosby and Evgeny Malkin and you know and all the other stars of the game. And that's one of the things. So you know, as far as I'm concerned, you know, until there's hockey to talk about again, you know, we'll talk about college hockey.
We'll bury this a little bit.
Yeah, we can talk about the AHL or anything like that, the Wheeling Nailers or the Baby Penguins over in Scranton. You know, but you know, this is another one of those subjects like bonus gate, bonus gate in the NFL. And I'm just getting so tired of talking about.
That could cripple the show. After Super Bowl's done and there's no hockey,
Hey,
we're in a
Big Mike,
void.
You
NFL draft.
You haven't seen anything yet, Big Mike.
Spring training.
There's always sports.
That's only a month.
And you guys are forgetting, like, there's bicycling in France or something. And I think they have golf and
No, that's
different
called doping 101.
No, that's done now.
We'll bring Lance Armstrong on to give us an education.
Whoa.
And how to pass a drug test.
But in answer to your question, Smoking Jim, they only have a window of about a month to make this deal. And I think they're talking on the side because nobody wants to lose the millions and millions of dollars. But will they make a deal? They're not the NBA, so I don't think a deal will happen.
Well, I have a question for you guys, if you don't mind, unless you have one.
No, this is the question at the table.
Okay, here's the question. Will he or won't he, will they bring back the 350-pound Samoan? He's reinstated. They have a couple of days to be able to make a roster move.
They have until, 4 o'clock tomorrow to do that. And the word that I hear on the local talk shows is that he's going to be cut. They said they release him and sign him to the practice squad.
That ain't bad.
That would probably teach that.
He'll drink to that.
Here's the thing. If he doesn't get a hug from Tomlin, which I haven't seen that in public, he's gone.
Hey, here's another question I have to ask, okay? We're talking about the Steelers and
It's
and
moving
what's
down.
going on.
I'm gonna ask one.
Okay. We have two starters in the offense that are significant starters on the offense that will be free agents at the end of the year. Mike Wallace, Rashard Mendenhall. Which one do you put the franchise tag on?
Well, if it's Black History Month, you try to bring them both in, but it won't be Black History Month. I think they'd be let them both go. I think Dwyer's the better back. He's a China doll. He's soft. He got a groin now. But I think that Rainey's going to get an increased role this season. They're still trying to figure out a way to get Rainey, but I think that you let Rashard Mendenhall go. Franchise tag on a running back's about $10 million a year. Wallace, to me, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but he doesn't seem as fast as he was last year. Sometimes those guys lose a step each year. It doesn't seem like
his heart's in the game. It doesn't. He seems like he's there physically, but he's not all there, in his heart. I would think Mendenhall would be the one I would not waste the franchise tag on. If I was going to put it on either of them, I'd put it on Wallace before Mendenhall, because one of the things about running backs in the NFL, they have about 4 or 5 good years, and then all of a sudden they go south real quick. And he's just coming off a major knee surgery, and I've had 3 knee surgeries myself. I was never the same after the first one.
Wow. I couldn't tell. You still got back here pretty good.
But I'm just saying, after you've had your knees cut, you're never as good as you were before. I know they've got all these advances in rehabilitation and everything like that. But it's a running back. Their careers are so much shorter than wide receivers. And if you were gonna use it on somebody, but I mean the thing with Mike Wallace is, he's showing up for the games, he's showing up for practice, but I just he's not playing with a desire like he wants to get a $10 million a year contract. He's getting paid $2.8 million this year, and he's playing like he should be getting paid $1.
Hey, Chip, I'm going to agree with you that if you're going to put a franchise tag, I'd put it on Mike Wallace. Because even though maybe he's playing half-assed like you're saying, I mean half-fast. You guys misunderstood that. He's half-assed this year. So that's part of it. But a lot of it's attitude. Maybe it's situational. Maybe he's not happy with the play calling from the sideline. And when you think about it, his alligator arms were there 2 weeks ago, and then they started to get a little longer. He does have 15 catches in 2 games, so it's not so bad. But I'd put the franchise tag on him.
He's pretty much shown, what he was displaying in the second half of last year seems to have carried over into this season, And I would think if I was playing for a contract, I'd be putting my heart and soul into it because, these guys' careers. And let's not lose sight of the fact he walked away from a $50 million offer from the Steelers. And Antonio Brown is having a great time spending his money.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
It goes back to agents,
yes,
though.
Is.
Who are these guys' agents?
No, he didn't listen to anybody because his agent told him he should have showed up for training camp. He went against everybody's advice, his teammates, his friends, his agent. I don't know what's...
Well, I think those guys are a piece of meat. I think that there's plenty of guys out there that can do well. Dwyer's already stepped up. Like I said, he should have been a first-round draft choice of the San Diego Chargers. And my good friend Tom Donahoe, who was the greatest general manager in Steeler history other than Dick Haley, used to tell me, either get them good or get them gone. And that's what I say. Dwyer's ready to step up, and I think that they can go out and get another receiver and keep Emmanuel Sanders, who I'm not a big fan of, in his slot role.
General managers, who was the GM with the Steelers during their run in the 70s?
Dick Haley, Todd Haley's dad. Well, they never had a general manager until Kevin Colbert officially. It was the director of personnel, and that was Dick Haley.
Yeah,
and he was
worked
a great
underneath
one.
the emperor.
Chuck Noll,
Because Chuck Noll, I tell you what, it was his way or there was no way.
Yeah, that's true.
It seemed to
That's
work.
true. Yes,
Hey, speaking of that era, we're going to go in the Wayback Machine. You were talking about Matt Castle and Brady Quinn for the Kansas, and they both. You were wondering who their third QB would be in that game. When was it? Was it Bradshaw and Mike Kruzak that both went down? And didn't Tony come in? Tony Dungy come in?
Tony Dungy, yeah.
But did he come in a game off the other side of the field, or was he prepped for the following week when they both went down? How'd that work?
No, it was during the game.
During the game.
Fourth quarter with a Houston Oilers game, I think. If memory corrects, I think it was in the Dome, in the Astrodome, I believe.
So is there a third quarterback designate, or how does that work? Or they just because he played it in QB in collegiate football?
That's pretty much, and he was a smart dude. Tony Dungy.
Well,
was
look
a
at Hines
genius.
Ward was a backup, like the third string
Oh,
quarterback.
let's
at
not
times.
mention. I give him
Come
more
on
credit.
now.
One sentence a week on TV.
Yeah.
He's getting paid for that.
What a nice gig. It reminds me of
If
Jerome.
I blink, I miss Hines Ward every week. What's he doing?
It reminds me of Jerome Bettis. What's wrong with
Bettis
that?
was pretty good, though. Bettis was pretty
He
good.
didn't last that long, though.
he could handle a steak. I tell you, 36-ounce steak.
Wow. Maybe we should go to his restaurant there.
Hey, you guys hear the whole story about the steel curtain when they went out? Joe Green and all these guys.
Is this a
Betty.
fiction and
This
fact from
is a
Smoking
true
Jim's
story.
Almanac? We're waiting, folks.
Joe Green says, "Bring me a steak." Dwight White says, "Bring me 2 steaks." L.C. Greenwood said, "Bring me 3 steaks." And Ernie Holmes said, "Bring me the whole cow. I'll carve him up." So that's how them guys used to eat big back in the day, man. So, yeah.
It's a good story.
Yeah, man.
Mike, do you got any questions about
absolutely.
how they cook the steak?
Medium rare, but that's
They
beside
just
the
walked
point.
it through the kitchen.
They cook the moo off.
No, this is not a question. This is going to be a comment. A few moments ago was Hammer the Hainer. And since we're, and then you started it. And since you prefaced it with, in spite of the fact we're all friends, but, Chip, I got to take you to task on Mike Trott for MVP. Not possible, because we had this discussion about MVPs, and I'm adamant about an MVP should be a player that's, especially now with the expanded playoff roster, should be a playoff bond player, and Trout wasn't in that mix.
Look at his statistics.
Stats,
for the
okay,
year.
I'm with
He's
stats.
rookie, he's hands down American
Yes.
League Rookie of the Year.
Yes.
You could make a good argument for him, and if we disagree, then we disagree. I tell you
still
what,
friends.
if it wasn't for Melky Cabrera or Miguel Cabrera winning the Triple Crown, he would be in serious conversations for MVP. I mean, Buster Posey, hands down, he's the National
We're
League
going
MVP.
to continue this for another day because
We've
we're
done it.
starting to run out of time.
Oh, man.
Big Mike Butera with his questions and great statements. Smoking Jim Frazier with that fiction and fact and his almanac. And then, what's this, Duquesne? All right, and Chip Hainer with his profit picks. What, Giants this week again?
No, I got the Steelers going to win 17-14.
He's with Al Levine, the talking machine. We're going tandem on this.
I'm giving a score.
Steelers win.
17-14.
He's much better than I am, folks. See you next week. Thanks for watching the show. Catch us on YouTube.